In the bottom left, as the blue Protoss, he is KingCobra.
So there's two things I do want to mention. One is that we did just move from Group D to Group A, so welcome to all the new players that we're going to be seeing on the stream now. But also, it's that Bly is 2 and 3 right now. And this is not like Group D where, you know, players still had 2 matches left to play. This is actually like, this is getting close to the end here. It's this match, this series right here, and one other series they have left to play. So you can see there in the standings, KingCobra not doing so hot, sitting at 1 and 4. It's honestly pretty unlikely he's going to be able to advance out. Bly still has a chance to have a positive score though. If Bly wins this series and has to play Drogo still, which is going to be a tough match, Bly still has a shot here. So this is an incredibly important match for Bly. He cannot afford to lose this.
Hey, this is maybe for him freebie is a really harsh word, but he should defeat the new guy.
Yeah.
And then he might even be thinking a lot more about Drogo. Like this isn't necessarily even going to be a guy who gives him like very good practice against Drogo because the style is going to be so different. And he should just beat him. That's it. Like he should beat him. But you're right. There is a little bit of pressure that he might be thinking of just like, okay, like I'm actually not doing very well. This is forward third hatch is kind of interesting, but taking advantage of the rich Vespian geyser on this map.
Yeah, and that should be scouted out pretty quickly because there is an adept first opening here from KingCobra. So that's going to be making its way across the map, and we'll probably get pretty close to scouting that third base if it doesn't already just naturally, depending on where those shades finish up, I think. But Bly moves in with the Overlord and has already spotted that Stargate.
So no surprises for the Stargate, but it's also kind of like, well, no surprise. It's a Stargate. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah,
Stargate's
I mean,
back in it.
Stargate especially versus Bly, like that's just a reasonable decision to make, right? Because Stargate is considered the safe, I can defend against a lot of different types of all-ins and everything move for Protoss players against Zerg. And even getting a Void Ray, this is the like, I can't, my Oracle would run out of energy. My Void Ray is forever.
My Oracle is temporary, but the Void Ray is forever. Buy your girlfriend a Void Ray today.
I mean, you know what? If you truly do care about them, it's got a pretty big gem inside of it.
Yeah. Well, it's always been the question for the past couple of weeks. You know, is it one Void Ray? Is that its place? It's now back in as just like, oh yeah, it's useful for multiple things, or is it multiple Void Rays? Is this more interesting than that? I'm gonna go right into an Oracle afterwards, which Bly might not expect. Now, Bly, he might have gotten that forward third hatch for the geyser just because he thinks he can. But wouldn't you think he's gonna use it for something?
The only other thing I can think of is that it's just a proxy hatch. Like, it's a little bit closer to his opponent, but he is finally taking that gas geyser. So I think, yeah, it just took a little bit. Maybe he was busy microing his Zerglings around and all that good stuff, but starts up some Spore Crawlers. The funny thing is, this Void Ray, seeing the creep, this is actually finally going to be the first scout out on that forward third base. So I thought the Adept would get a chance, but the Lings getting in did delay the Adept from moving out. And now this is the reveal. He says, okay, you have an earlier, you know, extra gas geyser here that's basically going to be worth 2 gas geysers. What's your plan here, Bly?
Well, it looks like KingCobra plan is to go into a Fleet Beacon, second Stargate. It's kind of what I expected, but Bly would love to get that confirmation. You made a really good point about the third base being kind of like in more proxy, like it's towards your opponent, which Zergs are usually hesitant to do. They're not the race that's supposed to kind of control the attack path, but can. And that means it's going to be a creep spread already in KingCobra's 4th, right? His own Rich Vespian Geyser, as well as faster, maybe Hydras or Corruptors towards him as well. And there is the Scout and the Fleet Beacon, so it should be a Spire. I don't know if he's actually going to commit to these Roaches.
Yeah, I was going to say the downside here on taking that forward third base is that it is further away. It takes longer to connect the creep, and especially if you're doing what you were talking about, spreading that creep forward toward your opponent and not spreading it back toward your natural, the creep is going to be unconnected. That actually does mean when you're facing off versus a double Stargate play, if there is this kind of Oracle harassment and everything, the Queens can't really help out. Like, you're totally on, each base is basically entirely on its own. And oh my God, Bly, no! Massive stasis here. And I actually think it's important to note, it's not even just the minerals. Even one drone on gas that I don't think Bly noticed is no longer mining gas.
That was a pretty good stasis word. That was good. But, Bly's gonna grab an infestation pit immediately and then the Spire. I do believe the infestation pit is for Hive. And as he should be able to skyrocket up in that economy. Like 4 bases, 80 drones should not really be a problem here, as he knows. Even if the carriers do attack, because there are some carrier attacks before, they don't have to just turtle. It should take a little while. Like he'll maybe have some advanced notice. Maybe the amount of corruptors he can pop out will be enough. But he wants to keep track of that. It wouldn't feel good to have surprise 2 carriers and you have absolutely nothing but queens.
Probably not a fun surprise at that point. Yeah. The Spire did get scouted out by the Oracle, moving on in, throwing out the Revelation and everything in the main base. So KingCobra should know what Bly's effective reaction will probably end up being over here, especially with the Oracle
he's
still
gonna
just
snipe
staying
it.
pretty close.
Oh my god, he's gonna snipe the Spire. Oh my god.
There's nothing here. There's nothing here. There's not even creep here.
That's genius. Finding out where the Spire is, then sending everything that way, and he does not have a backup Spire or backup Hydralistan even. This is going to delay Bly's potential heir for a long time. It's not going to end the game, and that did not even cancel. I don't think it's going to end the game anyways, but that is a nice snipe.
Yeah. He should be able to also kill this hatchery, right? Like, there's no way this other hatchery gets up, which was a pretty ballsy hatchery. I'll put it that way.
It's one that's supposed to make sense. Like, you see carriers, you think, oh, it's not going to be happening for a while here. Let me just go ahead and grab 5, even 6 hatcheries, But with the delay of the Spire and him just actually rallying carriers over, like, he has to be careful because he doesn't know if there was a Spire started immediately or at all, or maybe there's already like a second Spire, like who knows. So he has to be careful, but it is kind of scary. It looks like KingCobra is being cautious. It's like, I don't know when it's finishing up. I know he's gonna have a big bank. He's gonna be angry about me killing his Spire, and he pulls back. That's probably the smart move.
Yeah, he's probably not too happy either that the Queen did not get that last hit off on the Oracle, because now it does get to stay alive. It does get to continue to revelate on top of Bly's economy, see whatever tech is over here. Might actually take a bit more damage. Does not quite catch the glimpse of the extra Spire finishing up, which I think you'd probably still just assume. Like, there's a chance that maybe they went to Hydras, but
he did.
It's probably just going into the Spire, yeah.
Yeah, he barely saw it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, yeah, but as you were saying, like, you just assumed anyways. The second Spire will probably be on the way at some point too, as we were headed into that type of game. 13 Corruptors instantly made. I mean, maybe if Bly hadn't just been attacked by carriers, he would have waited even longer to actually start them. Just because, yeah, they probably don't push out that often. But, okay, safe and sorry. And he is still on 4 bases, 71 workers, but it would be a lot nicer to be on 5 bases, 80 workers. Like, he made all these roaches that I'm kind of questioning now.
Yeah, I saw a handful of roaches and I'm like, okay, sure, they're a bit useful for tiny bits of ground harassment and everything, but that is a lot more roaches than I thought. And okay, here's the play. The Spore Cars are going to utilize the big creep spread that's been going forward, and he's going to siege up the spores at the forefront here. Try and move. The difficult part is going to be getting them up that ramp that we're looking at, or he has to go around to the top of the 3rd base. Either way, this is going to get pretty weird.
All right, now the roaches make more sense. Now I get it.
Yeah.
All right, the aggressive attack. He's still going to have a decent economy behind this if it doesn't end up working out. He's on Vipers as well, but going straight for the Stargate is only a single cannon and Stalker, a couple of Stalkers it looks like.
He's gonna get the
I don't know if he actually wants to dive on the second Stargate though. Okay, yeah. Take those 2 structures and get out of there.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, there's only 1 Stargate left. There were only 2 Stargates, so that is going to completely halt majority of the production there for any of that big air toss army. Now, with more gateways being added on, like you were saying, it's still going to be a bit of a transition there. Mothership will still be able to pop out even without the fleet beacon still being around, but it's definitely gets kind of weird. I feel like KingCobra is going to be pinned back for a lot longer than he really wants to at this point.
Yeah. I said that 4th base is going to be vulnerable, but I didn't realize it would happen so soon. Like, he's not even going to be able to get a 4th base.
Yeah.
It's currently 5 carriers against 20 Corruptors. If they have the Mothership with them, if they have the Shield Batteries with them, that's not so bad. But, yeah, reaching out towards another base, that's going to be the real difficult part. I don't know about making more roaches like Bly has made some more, trying to, I guess, continue having a ground presence. But this is, eventually, if KingCobra plays this right, it'll eventually just be all about the air. The Roaches can start cleaning up Zag defense, and that is helpful. Maybe they can snipe a High Templar, help with the Archons. Yeah, maybe.
His thought process might be that he's killed off the Fleet Beacon and one of the Stargates, so the air army is just not going to be as large. And he saw all the gateways finishing up, so maybe he just feels like he needs to have something more on the ground to deal with the follow-up here. But yeah, this is definitely going to turn into eventually like a big air Sky Toss army with 2 more carries being added on. The Corruptors going to go for the Caustic Spray on the Nexus. This should absolutely be responded to. High Templars are moving forward, but the carriers and the Mothership are a little bit late, and that many, oh my god, I actually feel like it would have been really dicey because you would have been eating 1 or 2 storms, and I actually feel like the damage is about to kick in. He maybe could have stuck around for another 3 seconds.
Cloak doesn't cancel it, does it?
If you don't have detection, but he did have oversteers though.
Okay, I'm just wondering.
Yeah.
I didn't know if he did or not, but I was like, wait a second.
I'll cancel it if you lose vision of it.
Yeah, that makes sense, right? So maybe that's also what he's thinking. They just said he had an overseer, so. Well, that might affect future games. Yeah, I thought he made more roaches than he did. I was just wrong about the roach count. It is nice to have those ground units to try and take out the Archons and the High Templars. Some people choose Lurkers, though, as they have that high tech. Bly might have a humongous bank, but he actually hasn't really gotten the biggest economy he could have up until now. He's going to grab 2 carriers, which is fantastic. Ooh. There's a handful of drones on the right side as KingCobra starts to use his mineral bank. Yeah,
finding some nice damage there, and it doesn't really feel like Bly's even reacting to it at all, so he's going to end up losing the hatchery entirely. So that's a bit of gas. He's not going to be banking up for a little bit, but he's still actually got a bit of a bank. He's looking for carriers, finds a few of them, doesn't actually target fire them down until very late on. Now the Storm's coming out on top of the Corruptors, but I think the Corruptor count is just too high for KingCobra to actually realistically deal with at this point. Carrier after carrier going down, and this was everything that KingCobra was trying to build up to.
Yep, he didn't have enough shield batteries to help out, didn't have enough storm to stop that from happening, and the Archons, I guess, were kind of caught on this weird ledge, so they weren't always underneath the Corruptors. It's going to be a big loss for Bly as well, as he grabbed the last carrier. He did have to go over stack defense, but KingCobra knows that the bank's probably extreme. Bly does end up winning with Roach Corruptor. KingCobra couldn't quite, I don't think he got to enough carriers fast enough. Obviously couldn't reach that 4th base. Very cool maneuver with the Spore Crawlers. That was good control by Bly.
And I have to say, that game, like, normally I'm used to seeing Bly dictating what the game is going to look like a bit. And yes, he did go for something a little bit abnormal with the forward 3rd base and everything, taking the gas geyser, the rich Vespian gas geyser there. But I do feel like it actually was KingCobra saying, no, I'm going for the Stargate thing. This is happening. And I'm going to go into really fast carriers, and I'm like sending them across the map with just 1 carrier, 1 Void Ray, and 1 Oracle. A very odd composition there to snipe off the Spire, but like it felt like KingCobra kind of dictated what that game was eventually going to look like. And it scares me because when you just have Bly and he has more tricks up his sleeve for all these different maps that are going to come up, I'm like, oh man, Bly won that, and I felt like KingCobra was the one dictating the way that game would look. How is he going to do if Bly starts dictating it?
I see what you're saying, yeah. Well, I guess, Bly is not always the one making the moves. He has shown plenty of macro games and, playing more like the Zerg race we would expect. So, I mean, yeah, I definitely see your point, though. It just, there's another thing KingCobra could do, right? Besides play a little passive and, go for the snipe and the Spire. That was cool, but the thing I'm thinking of is the Cannon Rush. Does he do it on Pillars of Gold, Pure Dragon?
Let me think about this. So Pillars of Gold, not the best map for cannon rushes, but there's some potential here, I think. There are some locations. Here's the thing. I don't know KingCobra well enough to say what kind of cannon rusher is. Because, people like to just say, oh, you're a cannon rusher. There are so many types of cannon rushers on Big Up. There's so many different styles of cannon rushes. There is the in-your-face, like, Haas is one that comes to mind, where he'd be like, I'm gonna wall off your entire front door with 7 pylons. And you're like, that's so stupid, that shouldn't work, but then he makes it work. And then you have like the extremely statistically well done analytical cannon rushers like Printf, who are like, this is like the optimal place to put my pylon, and it's gonna map out, and this is the minimum amount of surface area on the square and everything. Like, there's all types, and I feel like this is an okay map if you were like the print F kind of cannon rusher. But if you're not, I'm not feeling it. I'm not feeling it. Sorry, you kicked me off on a very passionate topic, right? This is on you. This is on you.
I was really afraid you had more, man. I was afraid you're gonna bring out some names.
I'm holding it back because the game is loaded up and we're ready to jump in and introduce the players. You're saved for now, Zombie Grub. You're saved.
Oh god. In the bottom left, as the blue Protoss, he is KingCobra.
And up in the top right-hand side of the map, sitting up at 1-0, it is the Red Zerg player, Rise Blythe. Rise stands for Razor Edge because for some reason, it's actually never the people from Razor Edge Gaming or any of the players on Razor Edge Gaming. It's all the other people who have nothing to do with the team that are like, are you calling it rye? What do you think? This is a type of bread? And I'm like, the abbreviation is RYE. It's rye. Right? I'm allowed to call it rye.
Are you though?
Until someone from the organization tells me that they don't like that, I feel like it's safe.
Okay. I have a question
if
for
someone
you.
does. Yeah?
Is it GIF or GIF?
I'm trying to remember the one that you don't like because that's the one I want to say, but I feel like I've messed with you so much that I don't remember anymore.
You've messed with me in other way, like other things, but this one you've never messed with me. So.
Well, I usually alternate to maximize annoyingness.
Right,
yeah.
That's what I was doing. Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
I say it the quote unquote incorrect way. So to stop chat from yelling at me, I no longer say GIF. Even though that's actually a perfectly acceptable way of saying it, I now say GIF. People get upset about this. So.
GIF. Give. Like I'm asking you to give me a GIF.
I know. I was going with you. I was on board, man. It was like the GIF emote. The
right.
Cannon Rush is not here. I got a gateway.
No. It was very distinctly not.
Yeah, that's too bad.
So
but
here's the
it's expected.
I don't know that I would even like KingCobra to do anything like that early on against Bly. Because again, like I feel as though Bly is the guy who, despite logic dictating that everyone knows Bly is cheesy, and you mentioned I'd say he cheeses or does those weird plays like 60% of the time, maybe like 65% of the time. But like he can play a macro game and everything. He still seems to get himself into cheese versus cheese situations so often. There are so many people that seem to think like the appropriate response to Bly is to cheese him first. And I feel like Bly has actually gotten a lot of experience in that. I feel like more often than not, Bly ends up getting the better end of those trades. I don't like it when people try to go for the hyper fast cheeses versus Bly. I'm cool with a 2-base all in, like a big adept flood or something. I don't like the cannon rushes and stuff though as much.
I think the difference is, and we see something kind of weird by Bly, 2-base here. The difference is that Bly will drag you down and beat you with experience. You know, people say that, but that's, people who don't usually also have the same identity. Like,
yeah, that's true.
KingCobra is also experienced the way that he plays. It's like, it's not him being demoted to whatever Bly does and changing his usual play style up. So I get your point in general, but I still wouldn't mind seeing it. I don't think it would have worked, right? Because Bly would have been like very cautious about it, very on point. He did scout a little bit with his drone in case it was that. But I'm also not convinced that the Stargate stuff will work, and not just because it didn't last game, but because it's also Pillars of Gold, and this seems like one of the worst maps to try and protect your third base. So,
yeah, that is a fair point. Pillars of Gold is gonna probably dictate a little bit of what Bly wants to do here with that. So with the 2-base layer finishing on up, we're about to find out what he's planning to throw down. It's going to be, that infestation pit.
2-base, nice swarm host.
And a drop overlord.
I feel like I don't like this against Mass Air though, but I guess the thing that happens is that this is so fast that it catches the drop overlord. It catches the number of units very low, so maybe you can really get the ball rolling. I don't know. KingCobra is not going to be able to scout this. He's not really even scouted the lack of third hatch. So
I actually really like the drop overlord though. Like this is one of those things that is good, but just everybody stopped doing it because Protoss players got so good at dealing with it because every Zerg player was doing it. And then it just finally stopped because Zerg players are like, all right, Just never gets anything done anymore. Let's call it back. But he forces one of the oracles back. He's going to be able to delay a lot of mining time. He's actually getting a decent number of workers over here. Like, he is throwing KingCobra off his game plan, and that's going to hopefully for Bly set him up for the big swarm host move in that he's just not going to be prepared for.
If KingCobra knew about the swarm hosts, I think he has his void rays checking out Nidus worms, although I doubt he finds this one, and that really does help him. If he doesn't know about it, which he doesn't, then this could start the snowball effects. I still am kind of questioning the idea, though. Oh, there's the sound. KingCobra knows now. I'm gonna go to Tempest instead.
Okay, so you need 5 Tempests, I believe, to one-shot a Queen. Otherwise, they just transfuse back up. I guess the Oracle and the Void Ray might be able to help out a little bit. Oh, Bly, much more on point with the Stasis Trap this game, so not going to lose as much mining. Nidus Storm is going to get picked off over here, so that will delay things a tiny bit.
Oh, you gotta be careful. So the Tempest might not kill the Queens that fast, but theoretically, the Queen should never kill the Tempests.
Yes.
They're gonna have difficult time killing carriers as well, but like they could theoretically take on the interceptors. Tempests are able just gonna shoot from afar. They're gonna have difficult time cleaning up all the locusts. And this is that snowball is hit so hard, so fast that it just actually works for a Stormhost player. That pylon, no,
yeah.
oh no.
Somewhere, Artosis is smiling.
Oh my gosh. Oh,
Well.
KingCobra. He's not even rebuilding it that quickly. There, finally.
Well, he's getting one pylon up. Okay, there's the second pylon, but the Swarmos have already unleashed another wave of locusts. So he's denying a lot of mining time on gas, which when you're going for double Stargate Zombie Grub, gas is the #1 thing. That is everything about your build.
And yet he does have a bank of gas. As 2 Tempests just recently popped out, he can use it to make another 2.
That is kind of interesting. Maybe that Void Ray buff really giving him a bit of help. Oh, I love that. Bly actually anticipating that there is going to be the stasis trap there, drops down 1 locust to set it off, and then drops down the rest. Gonna go after another one of these pylons here, and well, the Tempests have actually built up into big enough numbers that he's going to be able to force Bly a little bit further back, but there's always an opportunity to just make another nice one on the north side. Or, you know,
That's a very impressive dinosaur. The Tempest are out of position, but it's not going to work. Bly is following this up with a Spire, and I think that this could be the 1-2 punch that really hurts. I mean, that was a lot of denied mining time. This is still not ideal for KingCobra, even though he could produce from his 2 Stargates pretty reliably. Like, he would rather have a bunch of static defense right now, or on a 3rd base that's actually already done, and also with enough still left over to be building probably carriers again, going back into those. KingCobra is once again lacking vision, but you gotta guess the Spire behind this.
Yeah. I actually think if Bly, I don't think he can get it now, but I think if these Lings had just right-clicked on that 3rd base, I actually think he could have sacked all of them and gotten the kill. Because it's not like the Tempests were far away. The Oracle was out of position. It was 2 Void Rays. The Void Rays are not going to kill all those Lings in time, but I understand like wanting to double check and make sure there's no 4th base or anything. And it's a little bit of a risky play.
I still can't determine if these Swarmos were a good idea or not. I guess if the game goes on, they're always going to get that potential damage done.
They've gotten some value.
Yeah, no, they did, but you know, it was 2 base. It was pretty committed by them, and they don't help out versus the air. You know, that was actually one of the Canning Scarlet games.
Well, I would say some pretty good damage here.
Well, okay, yeah, they're gonna get the Nexus. That's a good point. But like I was saying, like I'm basically arguing with myself. Like, well, I guess they continue getting damage done, but you know, it could be that if KingCobra did not lose that Nexus, if he's able to save it and actually, patrol it and actually defend it, then Bly might have started himself off kind of on the wrong foot. But you know, 2 base, only just now with 3, so only 56 workers. Maybe he can't make as much as he wants, but it seems like it is going to work. KingCobra just can't quite be everywhere at once with the limited units. He's trying to get up to some Archons too, but without the 5th and 6th gases, he's gonna have to really pick and choose what he makes with gas.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. This is gonna become a situation where KingCobra is gradually gonna start getting outproduced, even though he's got some incredibly high value units like Void Rays who are gonna be taking on Corruptors. That's the ideal fight, right? But if you don't have overwhelming numbers, it's tough. And we're at the point where Corruptors are just finding opportunity to actually get cancels on the 3rd Nexus as it's building. Yet again, natural expansion, not mining for quite a bit of time. Didn't even fully saturate that 2nd gas geyser there. And it's just, KingCobra is starting to bleed out a little bit. If Bly gets up a 4th base during all this, while continuing to deny this 3rd, like that's kind of a wrap right there.
Yep. There's another world where KingCobra finds multiple Nidus worms and shuts them down before they start. He's done that maybe like twice. There's a world where he shuts down 6 or 7, and he's like, you know, he doesn't lose the nexus to the Locust or the Corruptors, and it's kind of one of those question mark games of like, well, can he build enough of an air army? But this is too much. He's going to now lose his natural nexus, and his 3rd probably isn't very safe either. Miss-targeting a little bit there, so he's not going to lose the natural nexus. All right.
Yeah, I think they were on an A-move command there for a little bit, and it looks like that shield battery keeps it alive. Oh, man, that's actually a really, really nice save there, because if he can keep his 3rd base up, if he can keep his 3rd base and his natural up, which I guess is possible, he's gonna have already forced the cancel there on the Caustic Spray, kills off a Corruptor there, doesn't lose any of the Void Rays. This next wave of Locust, I think, is going to be so big. If this cancels the 3rd, or if he manages to kill the natural in the next like 60 seconds, I feel like there's no way Cobra can come back. But if he can keep those alive, I'm starting to see some small opportunities here.
Natural is under attack as the main is also under attack. KingCobra is going to be able to save the natural once again and perhaps save the main. Void Rays, do they have prismatic alignment? No, actually. And Bly's figuring that out, so he's even taking the engagement a little bit. Whoa! That timing. Oh my god.
Big Mama watching out for the little guy here. Gonna be able to keep these Void Rays alive. But a handful of them already did go down. There's only 4 Void Rays left over. And the whole thing about this is build up a really big, scary air army. That is all that KingCobra has going for him, alongside some really stellar upgrades. The fact that he's actually on 2.5 bases effectively right now. Finally gotten up that 3rd base, but worker count definitely not for 3 base saturation. And he's affording +3 air weapons is actually kind of nuts.
That is kind of nuts, yeah. He's not really resaturating the natural gas that often. Before this Locust wave, he didn't have that saturated, and that's a big problem. It also would have been so nice to be able to get at least a couple of units, like Charge up, for instance. I think could also have helped them deal with some of these Nidus worms. Like, the bottom right, it's 3 Swarmos and a Nidus worm. Like, that should be cleared up. But he's not really thinking of it, doesn't really have the production for that, does not have Charge.
Tempest going to be going down over here. Those are not the high-value units for the most part, so there it is. GG. Just going to